Bonjour, hella, hola, how do, and service, I think, is the new one I've been introduced today. Um, Hope everybody is well. Welcome back to the channel as well. It's nice to have everybody back. And let's just review the shower of shite we've had to put up with this year, shall we? I mean, we've gone from having one of the best seasons probably ever wearing claret and blue in terms of success to one of the worst seasons we've ever had. And don't come at me if you were at Orient, just because I know there's going to be one of you from the Orient Brigade will be out in full force going, no, it wasn't that bad. But yeah, it's nice to have some input as well from obviously outstanding Clarets fans as well. So get your thoughts in for what you thought of the season. But I am glad to be joined by, I think I'm going to go with Greavesy for you, Ashy for Ashy, and Andrew, you're getting Andrew. You're going first name terms. But yeah, you couldn't write it. 3 Andrews on one show. It's almost like if you say it 3 times, the bogeyman's coming.
Always
but no,
going.
I mean, yeah. The bogeyman got a free move to Munich, mate. But Greavesy, how are you doing? How's things?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good. Kind of weird couple of weeks in it since the news broke that Munich. I remember getting a text message off a friend who works for one of the papers in Belgium, and I was just like, "Nah, this is not happening. This is madness." And it turns out it's not madness, and he's gone. So whoever had company to Munich on their sweepstake, fair play. I mean, that is. Yeah. He wasn't even in the betting, was he, at one point? And then all of a sudden he was favourite. No. Such a weird kind of, very strange couple of weeks, but c'est la vie, as the Germans might say.
I know Bewitched sang it, but
we'll go with that version.
Some people say I look like my dad. Ashley, how are you? How's things?
I'm still trying to get my head around it all. You know, gone from probably the best season we've ever had to probably the worst season. And like you said, you know, we have been through some crap. I mean, I can remember that. What my ever first game was against Torquay United. So, you know, considering, but yeah, where did all the? But I have to say, the company had done really well this season. I think he still have been off. Especially how uncommitted he was to us. So I just think it leaves a sour taste, though, doesn't it? Just the way he has left us in the lurch.
Oh. Yeah, I think for me, it's up there with a Coyle moment, but not exactly a Coyle moment. It's strange. You can sort of put it in and out the category. Andrew, how's things with you? Obviously, the news came out.
Yeah,
I mean, we've been expecting it for a good few weeks, haven't we?
Yeah, like Greavesy said, it's been a strange few weeks, and then you know when it all came out, I thought surely not. This is a load of bollocks. You know, there's no chance. You've got relegated with Burnley, probably one of the worst seasons, definitely the worst Premier League season that Burnley have had, and then you've got a job at Bayern Munich, like. I know that he's like, what is he, the 7th choice, 8th choice or something? Like, how many people have turned him down? But even so, I mean, you don't fall. I feel sorry for managers like Dyche, you know, with all the success he had with us, and he's ended up at Everton. You know, it's mental, but we live and learn, and we go on next season, and whoever it is in that dugout, as long as it's not Fat Frank, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I've not heard him be called that for a while. So that's quality. But at least we all seem in decent spirits, to be fair. I think it's probably because we've had a good few weeks to anticipate, you know, it's coming, it's going to happen. It would have been untenable if it did fall through. Let's put it that way. But yeah, let's go back to the beginning of last season then, since we're reviewing that. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to put you through it again, guys, but well nominated. The the summer recruitment, Greavesy, how did you think we did? Because obviously we needed to share certain areas up. We, went down, lost the bulk of what we've had for many a year, and something needed to change. Obviously, we had a couple of loans last year, so we needed to make some permanent signings. What did you make of the summer recruitment?
I think we were all kind of swept away by kind of the excitement of like, shit, there's another winger, and shit, there's another winger, and shit, there's another winger. And you kind of like, it was going to be like a Mighty Ducks type formation, I think. And I think we were expecting that, we were just going to overload teams, and we were just going to, we were going to be on the front foot, and attack is the best form of defense and all of this kind of thing. So actually, not having a left back didn't really matter. Not having a holding midfielder didn't really matter, because we wouldn't bother with any of that nonsense. We would just play football and go out and just absolutely smash it and things like that. So I initial excitement, and I think again on the podcast, quick plug from the BL end, we were kind of like, this is madness, but it kind of makes sense, because we're going to be all around the it's going to be this attacking football and possession football. And then it was like Man City at home, barely anybody we recognised from last season. You kind of went, there could be a bit of an issue here. And even then I kind of thought, well, maybe we're just hot housing the experience into these young players in games that we're not expected to win. And actually, when the season properly starts in about October, when we finally have a winnable game, and we kind of identified them, that run I think had like Fulham and Bournemouth perhaps and things like that, you kind of went, that's great, we'll just win them games, and all of a sudden we'll just kind of string 9-12 points together over 5 or 6 games, and we'll be up there and we'll be safe and all that. And then when we didn't do that, you kind of went, oh, this is a bit lopsided. You had this mad situation where he was playing Connor Roberts at left back, so he could play Vitinho at right. You're playing a right back at left back when you've got Charlie Taylor not even in the 16. You got rid of all them players from last year, and everyone said, oh, Jack Cork's legs have gone and this. And you kind of go, yeah, that might be true. But actually, you play a system right, Jack Cork doesn't need legs. What he does bring is that experience when you've got players who, for all intents and purposes, have never played. I mean, Koleosho turned out to be a bit of a star, but he played like 112 minutes of La Liga football in his whole career. And suddenly you're going, here you go, Man City at home, go and see what you can do kind of thing. So it was very weird that this kind of, I don't know, it's just very strange that there was a bit of an arrogance, and we refrained from using the word arrogance, even though we were all saying this is a bit arrogant to think you could just walk into the Premier League and blitz it and, and get away with it. And then when when Kompany wasn't changing it, it then became like, this is stubbornness with arrogance and pride before the fall and all this lot. So yeah, recruitment exciting, but exciting in a kind of way I used to play on FIFA and Football Manager and pile them up and hope for the best. Rather than what we really needed was careful thought and meticulous planning. And I still believe that the squad is left, and I've said on Twitter now, I don't believe we're in a mess. We've got an incredible squad. And I still believe there's probably £100 million player somewhere in amongst last year's signings. Might not leave us for 100 million, but we'll go for 100 million. So I think he brought in a load of brilliant players. There's just no system in which you can fit all of those brilliant players in and hope to win football matches or even get points in football matches. It's a bit of a fool's errand, really.
It is. I mean, Greavesy said it there, actually, that, there was that arrogance, and there was a lot of fans probably a bit annoyed that half of the team that helped get the club promoted, we didn't really go and shore up them loans. The likes of Maatsen, who apparently was dead on coming to the club, wanted that move, and then once he got his chance, obviously in that tournament in America, his head got turned when Poch said, no, he looks like he's going to be part of my first team plans. But from our side of things, Kompany just has got promoted, and it seems as a fan, he's just gone, that team sheet, start again, and wrote a fresh one.
Yeah, I will go to the Teller. Teller and Bellis at the back. Them two. Maatsen, I weren't that bothered about, like, really. And
Maatsen for me was one of them where, but I kept throughout the season, changing. If you was to sign any of those loan players, when people are asking that question, who would you sign? And 1 week it'd be Teller, next week it'd be Maatsen, and I'd sort of keep changing between the two. But then I think second half of the season, Maatsen dropped off quite a bit.
Yeah, and weren't we on for buying him for about 32 million at one point? I mean, there were the rumours. I mean, a lot
Deadline
of these
day,
signings that we've
36
made,
million.
Yeah, a lot of these signings we've made. I mean, I don't think the figures actually rack up as much as what they've been published like. But yeah, I'd love to have had Teller. I'd love to have Bellis. I mean, Bellis has just got back-to-back promotions with Southampton. I mean, 20 million. Is he worth 20 million? I don't know. I don't know if he is. I think he's probably in a similar boat as what the defence we've just gone down with is. You know, he's probably too good for the Championship, but not quite ready for the Premier League. But I still had him. The one that confuses me the most, and even though he has got bags of potential, was Trafford. The rumour was, and I kept questioning whether it's just a rumour, but he signed on and he had to play 75% of the games. And he was like, nah, this is BS. Like, but then all of a sudden, Muric comes back into the team. It's like we're 3/4 way through the actual season. So there must have been something in there. So Company did make some outstanding signings, potentially on paper, but I think as Greaves just said, there were too many of them. And they're all wet behind the ears. None of them proven. If we'd have got someone like Barkley, I think Barkley would have been outstanding in that centre mid. And even Townsend. I mean, Townsend was like bang on to sign for us, like, but then we got Redmond. Yeah, but that weren't a position that we actually needed. Was another winger. So, but you've got to look at it again on paper. The team that we had before Company took over. I mean, we were dead and buried, weren't we? I mean, then he made all these signings.
Depleted as
we've
well.
gone down with a far better team. I mean, it's is it? I can't pronounce his name. Steve Esteve.
Steve. Yeah.
Rumored to be going, but we've just signed him for 15 million, so he's not going to go off for anything less than 20, 25. So we're going to make a lot of money on these players. So I don't feel apprehensive or nervous about it. I'm a bit excited about what's about to happen, but I think the main thing starts off with a new leader. It's who's that going to be?
True, that's true. I mean, Andrew, some of the signings we made. Amdouni from FC Basel, apparently the Swiss Messi. I mean, from his watching him play, it's been quite messy, to be honest. Aaron Ramsey, not a lot of fans have really rated him. I think obviously the Sander Berg move was very left field. You know, this is a player that were linked with Liverpool the season prior. You know, when Liverpool were looking at a midfield rebuild. Again, it goes back to what Greavesy said. We was bringing in the right caliber of player, but it was what to do with them. It's almost like you've been given a war chest. I'm going to go out and spend it. Now, how do I make this work? And that's where it's, you know, basically it's the apple's fallen from the tree and we didn't know what to do.
No, like Greavesy said, like it's like playing FIFA. You get given a shit ton of money, and then you're just like, oh, I'll buy him. Oh no, I'll buy him. Oh, I'll buy him. And then you look at it and you're like, hang on a minute, I've got 15 wingers, no centre half, you know, and I've no goalkeeper. But no, it's weird because like signings like Coley Shaw, Ordeber, Berg, you know, they're ones that like sort of got me excited. Like I remember being sat there going, "Oh, I hope Odebert starts today for his debut," you know, because like I'd done the thing that everyone else does when you sign a new player and watch all the highlights on YouTube and think, "Oh my god, this guy's the new Messi," you know. So we signed some really good players, and I said it all season, and I still stand by it. James Trafford is going to be a world-class goalkeeper. He's going to end up as England's number one, and he's going to be absolutely fantastic. But he's 21. it wasn't the right time to
There's got to
throw
be
him in at the
something to
deep
him
end.
for the fact that
Yeah,
Newcastle, Chelsea are sniffing around trying to catch a deal at 20 million.
there's got to
You
be
know,
something in it
there's
for
got to be something
Pep
there.
Guardiola to want a buyback
Buyback
clause.
clause. Yeah.
Like, there has to be something in him, and we could see, like, I think we're at Brighton away where he was the best man on the pitch, and if we'd had a different goalkeeper, we'd have lost like 6 or 7-1 or something. But then we brought in like Delcroix. Why did we buy Delcroix? Because he was
I think
brought in as
he
like
was
a
meant
left
to be
back
bringing in as a
replacing.
left back, yeah.
Yeah,
To like
but we had Charlie
maybe
Taylor, who was
push
decent
Charlie
enough.
Taylor, because I think Charlie Taylor had his nose sort of kicked to one side in the Championship season, where a lot of people were thinking, out of all the players that we had from the Dash era, is Charlie Taylor not going to fit into a company system? But then we got to the Prem, and he's realised, I don't have a left back. I've got it. The only option I've got is to. I've tried everything else apart from play a left back at left back. So he did, and
But, like,
luckily,
we signed players like Delcroix, who was a load of crap. I mean, this Enoch guy who we signed last January, where's he?
Yeah.
I know he were injured for a bit, but when we've got to the stage where we knew we were basically down, give this lad a chance. There's something in him as well that you've brought him in for. You've got rid of Ben, like basically got rid of Benson because you don't like him for some reason. You've sent Zarauri out on loan, God knows why. Connor Roberts, all right, sometimes he didn't put in 100% effort, but he had something there. You've brought in all these players that you didn't need to bring in, some good, some shite, and alienated some who got us to where we are in the first place. And the priority should have been day one, right? Nathan Teller, you've scored this many goals for us. We want you. Ian Matson, we want you. Harwood Bellis, we want you. Right. What else do we need? Probably another striker. Right. That's it. We should have made 5 or 6 signings. That was it. And I'm definitely guilty of it myself because of how shit our transfer windows have been previously. Every day when we had a new signing video, it was like, oh, bloody hell, who've we got here? Oh, my God, we got the hype and we all got excited. And I genuinely thought we were going to finish in top 10 and then this season would be pushing for Europe, that's the mindset I had. And then we've got fucking Hans Delcroix and Dara O'Shea at centre-back. It just frustrates me because this entire season was a waste for me. Like, it could have been something special, and instead it was just a waste.
I get what you're saying from a fan perspective. You feel like you've had all that upwards trajectory of pushing to be a Premier League club and looking like we would be a very stable Premier League club, on its way back up. And again, I don't know if anyone's watched Top Gun Maverick, but they say when they're going through the to deactivate the bomb, they got to get that steep incline, and then they've got to drop off. Pretty much what we did, because we managed to get the job done, and then straight back down the other end. And to be fair, by the end of the season, we were all goosed. But Greavesy, Andrew said it there. The signings that were made, the loans, the players that were loaned out as well. Were you surprised to see 1 or 2 of them leave? Do you think they were going to get a chance in the Premier League?
I think it was a bit weird because I think we were. I do think we were. They always said, "Oh, we were ahead of time" and things like that. And I think we probably bought players last summer, so the first company summer, with a view to probably being in the Championship for 2 seasons. So, you Scott Twines and McNally and things like that, you probably expected them to have 2 seasons in the Championship before getting promoted and things like that. What you can't excuse, though, is we knew we were promoted from about January, February. So, why don't you start having them conversations? We clearly had conversations with Bayer because Bayer just, he was, I think, the first signing, maybe second after Obafemi.
We never even announced that, did we?
No, it was a bit kind of like, oh, he's in hospital and he's our player, so shit. what have we done? But I think Teller's the one that kind of, well, Teller and Maatsen really. Teller, we needed to kind of go early, and I think there was this kind of thought process that would he cut it in the Premier League? But you look at his record. I mean, Bayer Leverkusen have lost once, and albeit it's a European final, lost once this season. I think in the last 2 seasons, he's only lost something like 5 games of football across 3 teams. Burnley, start of the season with Southampton, then Bayer Leverkusen, who've gone on and won the German double. So you just kind of, rather than faff about, you know, if you know, there's this kind of, there's a shinier toy out there, I think sometimes. Same with Maatsen, we weirdly put all his eggs in a Maatsen-shaped basket. And Maatsen said at the start, look, I'm interested, but there's a new boss at Chelsea and I want to kind of see where I fit into his plans. And Pochettino did that thing that managers do. They kind of gave him a few games in pre-season, talked about him in the press, said, oh, he's an important player, and then didn't play him when it came, you know, once the window had shut, he barely got a sniff because it was a bit like, ooh, right. And then we kind of went in late at the last minute and bid 36 million, which showed there was money there to spend, which was quite good. But we'd kind of, in the last week of the window, we'd flirted with a couple of other left backs, one in Turkey and a Dutch left back as well at PSV, I think it was, or Feyenoord. So you kind of go, we'd put all his eggs in one basket. I was told that we didn't think Harwood Bellis was fast enough for the Premier League. And yes, Dara O'Shea and Alderkiel did register as fastest or second fastest player in the Premier League on a couple of different match days. But I don't necessarily think you need speed in the Premier League. I think the way you play, as long as you don't give, you know, as long as you're not pressing a high line on the halfway line, as we were at times, you don't actually need that much speed. So, and I think you get a bit of a yin and yang. So I think Harwood Bellis, as Ash said, I think that was a bit of a mistake. I think, you know, is he worth 20 million? Possibly not, but he probably going to play for England at international level. So you're probably going to get 2 or 3 years out of him and at least make your money back if he carries on that upward trajectory. So they were them kind of players. And then for me, one that nobody's mentioned, and Andrew mentioned Agai, Masengo. Masengo is such a... I cannot understand. I've looked into his stats last year. So he got relegated last year out of the French top division. But he was statistically one of the best players in the second half of the season in the French top flight for his position. And he's somebody who I was always impressed with at Bristol City. And when we were faffing about in midfield and we weren't really getting anywhere in midfield, and we'd kind of thought that Cullen couldn't play there, so we brought Brownhill back in, and Brownhill gave you that energy, but perhaps isn't as effective in the Premier League as he is at the Championship level. And I've probably been stronger than that about Brownhill in the past, but I think it's possibly a little bit unfair given the system. But we were looking for something different in that midfield, and we were looking perhaps for, I think we should have gone to a 3 in that midfield. And I think you've got Masengo to be almost your box-to-boxer with a bit of a tackle, because Berg doesn't really like a tackle. He kind of flicks a leg out and he kind of strolls around, which is fine, because if you give him the freedom to do that in a number 10-ish role, he can do. You've got your water carrier, which is Brownhill, which is your Deschamps type role. And I don't think anyone's ever likened Josh Brownhill to Didier Deschamps, but you know what I mean? That kind of person who'll pick the ball up and he'll give you that terrier energy. And then you've got Masengo, who's that bit of crunch, bit of tackle, bit of this. And I think you'd have built a perfect midfield. And it's not for me to tell Kompany how to do his job, but I think he was so obsessed with this. We're going to play 4 wingers every game, and we're going to play Foster out wide, and we're going to play a winger through them. You know, this weirdness. If we'd have just stepped back and gone 3 in midfield, and I'd have loved a Cullen, Berger, Masengo 3, because I think you actually, you know, you've got the shield, you've got the buzz, and then you've got the creative one. I think we'd have.
Do you know what, Greasy? You're describing my team on FIFA there. You're literally describing my FIFA team.
It's perfect, isn't it? It's perfect, isn't it?
I mean, I've won Premier League, so.
I mean, I hope you've got your CV in. I mean, I'll be honest. It's kind of. I'd pick you over Scott Parker, I have to say.
Come as assistant, you 3. We'll be
there. We go. We're sorted.
Well, no, that's it. Sorted.
We're done.
No, actually, obviously, the players that haven't had much game time, like you said, In fact, no, I'll refrain that question. Well, I'll change the question. Obviously, the season before, we're talking about recruitment still. Obviously, we signed Lyle Foster. A lot of people were going, he's not really cut it in the Championship. What's he going to give us in the Premier League? Obviously, we've all been through mental health and stuff like that. He's moved to a new country. He's, trying to fit in. But then he sort of comes in and at the start of the season was a bit of our saving grace, weren't he?
Oh yeah, I still think there's a hell of a player there as well. With the whole mental health thing, I think that has been a block for him to really shine like. But there were games. I think I keep forgetting towards the end of the season, he ended up shoved out wide, and it made absolute no sense whatsoever with it. So there wasn't a huge arrogance with the company's tactics and the way it was with the team. So I'm just. Do you reckon he actually lost the dressing room towards the end? Because I don't know, they didn't seem to be like last season, ready to run through brick walls for him, and this season, like the Newcastle game especially, they just weren't that energy. But
I think
getting back to, go on.
I think with the energy, I agree with you. I was lucky enough to see Vincent at the training ground on the Friday night before the Newcastle game. So we'd done this big cycle back from Belgium, and his dad had organised for us to go and see him. And we got there at like 5:30, and we got a tour because he was in a meeting at 5:30 on the Friday night as we were playing Newcastle on the Saturday. He came to see us about 6:30, 20 to 7. Spent about 20 minutes with us, was fantastic. Then was going into another meeting, and I spoke to a psychologist earlier this week, so we're doing a bit of a special on the psychology of relegation. Bit of an exclusive there for you, Dan. And I asked the question, is it a case of managers getting blinded by just needing to work harder? You just work longer. And I asked somebody and said, what time did Vincent come in this morning? He said, he was here from about 7 o'clock. So he was going into another meeting at 7 o'clock at night on the Friday. And we go and get spanked by Newcastle the day after. What is that? What the players weren't there, of course, but if that's the attitude he has, you just mentioned then as kind of the energy, and I wonder whether he just burnt these players out to such a degree that it wasn't a case of losing the dressing room necessarily, but they just physically could not perform at the level they needed to, because Vincent Kompany's answer was, we've just got to work harder, we've just got to run harder, we've just got to do this. And it gets to a point where you can't get better, and you start doing the simple stuff badly. And I think that's what it was. And he might have lost the dressing room. There was talk of, somebody organising a day out or a team bonding exercise. And there was only, 6 or 7 of last year's team turned up, if you will. And I did see a picture of a few of them, Corky and Taylor and Jay Mulligan's in Manchester, and that was it. There was none of the kind of new signings. So I think there was kind of fractures in the dressing room. So I'm not sure if he lost the dressing room, but I'm beginning to think that he worked them so hard that mentally and physically they checked out already, because they just couldn't, we'd kind of had that mini flourish, but we didn't really win many games, did we? We drew quite a few games.
Or did they know that it was rumoured that he was being touted, and he was
could well be,
asking quite, yeah. They just didn't seem to be the.
I would like to know what was said in that huddle on last game of season. Like, was that right, boys? Thank you for everything, but I'm awful. Was it come on, lads? We go again. Has he sold them the same dream that he sold us?
To be honest, I thought it was a PR exercise for Series 2.
Well, that as well, but
what's happened with Bellamy? Because that was brushed under the carpet. He's left. He's not at the club anymore. He's not going with Kompany.
It's strange with Bellamy, because obviously there was the story not long after he's got the job with Kompany that he's had financial worries, his head's up his arse, and stuff like that. And then I don't know, maybe it's been those games he's had a sniff of management. When Kompany had the red cards and he's been able to stand on the touchline and sort of give his sort of input, maybe it's made him realise, I want to do this.
Mm.
I feel better doing this role than I do doing, just feeling like I'm saying something to someone and then just going, yeah, well, that's just advice. I'll do what I want to do. So I'm
We
not
didn't
saying that
lose
he'll have
with him as
fallen out with
manager, did
Company.
we?
Huh?
Did we lose with Bellamy on the touchline?
Do you know what?
Well,
That'd be
that's one for the
something.
staff thoughts, that, isn't it? We didn't
Yeah, that
lose
is
at
one for the
Chelsea,
staff
did we?
thoughts.
He was on the touchline at Chelsea because he
Yeah.
John says
Company got-
mission to Bayern.
I just thought that actually the cameras were still rolling because there was talk that Sky had decided they weren't going to take it because it hadn't panned out as they expected it to, because obviously we weren't winning. But I think ALK was still funding the filming of it, and we're going to put it out as a. I can imagine the Sky executives were pretty quickly on the phone last Monday, Tuesday when the news broke. Lads, have you still got them videotapes? Can you drop them off at Isleworth? Because we might put it out now. But it'd be interesting if it goes on throughout the summer. But yeah, I think what was said in that huddle, I think that is an interesting one, isn't it? And I can't remember. I'd left by that point because I'd left on the final whistle pretty much. I don't know if the cameras were there and kind of circling and poking there. Were they? Yeah. So, I mean, that is interesting. What I hope, if we are going to get Mission to Burnley too, is that there's a bit more of that. The first series was a bit disappointing that I wanted more dressing room action.
Yeah.
And more
training
I think the first
action,
one,
it
was a lot more ALK.
It was all based on, the story of how they've gone from this Mormon background into working in football, where this is more, I want the second one to be based more around the football than
you want
the
you
business.
want it all or nothing from Amazon, don't you? You don't want
Yes.
it's interesting. It is interesting. Like, I found it quite interesting seeing the business side, finding out and all that. But it were a season of a lifetime. We've probably all said it, one of the best seasons of our lifetime. I want a season review, 3.5 hours long, where I can watch every single highlight. I want the behind the scenes. I want to see Company bollocking them at Sunderland. I want to see the celebrations after we beat them bastards. I want all that. I don't want to see Alan Pace talking to fucking JJ Watt on a massive tape. I mean, apologies if Alan and JJ are watching this, but I don't want to see that, lads. I want to see Company bollocking them at.
I do want to see Alan and the rest of the ALK playing football in a quarry somewhere in the Ribble Valley again. And who's sticking Alan Pace in goal in his gardening gloves? I mean, he's the shortest man on the pitch. Again, apologies. I mean, I'm only 5'11", but I mean, it's literally. I mean, I play with some duffers on a Monday night and a Wednesday night. I mean, Christ, I'm just glad they're better at business than they are at playing football, because I'd take them on. I'd be quite happy to take on ALK. I'll put it out there straight away. But yeah, I think
if they do that TST next season, Greaves has put his name in at already. That's it.
Vizier's on. Vizier's got a spot. I play 4 games a week. I'm a fat bastard, but I play 4 games a week. I've got stamina. Get me down, go for Christ.
Maybe that's what. Maybe ALK were training players this season while Vinny were in meetings, and that's the explanation for everything.
That could be goalkeeping certainly.
Pace were training Trafford.
Trafford getting tipped off.
The only time we've got Pace in the side. What have you made, obviously, the Trafford Murich thing? I mean, again, a lot was said about that over the course of the season. Again, what Ashley said earlier about this 75% games close, but it also tweaked our tactic, didn't it? Company also came out with Trafford and said, "Oh, I'll be proven right." Clearly weren't, because you had to change it up. And I said it myself that, under Dash, something needed to change, and we changed back to Heaton against West Ham, and we sorted it out, went on a run. So it was needed. But I'll come to you, Andrew. What did you make of it? The Trafford Murich debate. Murich grew over the course of that championship season for me, and I thought he would have gone into the Premier League as number 1.
Yeah, it's a strange one, because when Murich first came in, for those first 10 games, you had the all the groaning of the knocking it about and the odd little mistake where I think we're at Blackpool, where he basically passed it to their striker and they just smashed it in back at net,
Yeah.
But he grew into it, again, he's only a young lad. Like, I think is he 24, same age as Pope were when we signed him. So he's got, room to grow and stuff. He's a goalkeeper. They play till they're like 40, so, and he grew into the season. And I think that he deserved to keep that spot. And then obviously, we got linked with Trafford and he smashes it in the under-21s team for England. And, he saves that penalty in the final. And you're thinking, hang on a minute, we've got a serious goalkeeper here. These are two players who are going to be fighting for that position. And then we started him against City, and I thought, again, like, he wasn't a player that I thought we needed to sign. As much as I've slagged him off in his entire Burnley career, Peacock Farrell was all right as a reserve keeper. Like, he's okay as a sub keeper. Then we brought Vigor or whatever you want to call him. And I thought, right, that's our keepers. That's our three keepers. And then we've let Peacock Farrell go out and Trafford's come in, and it were a position I didn't think we needed to fill. But then we've played him against City, and I've given him the benefit of the doubt because it's City, best team in the world. And then we've played him. And as the games went on, it was obvious that he was just a young lad stuck in the middle of the sticks, and he could make fantastic saves. Like I said before, the Brighton game, he was absolutely outstanding. Like, he was like a young Tom Heaton. But then he'd have games where you're thinking, what the hell are you doing? And I think, for me, the final straw was I'm trying to remember it. We're at Palace, where he passed it straight to Brownhill. And I think that were it. It were like, right, you're a young lad. You are going to be good one day. You are going to be world class. But you're a young lad. And for everything we did this season to help Lyle Foster with his mental health, how damaging will it have been to James Trafford to be stood there?
To be fair, Andrew, he's apparently got the he thinks so highly of himself in terms of, which is there's nothing wrong with having that confidence to believe in yourself.
No.
But
that must have not.
I will be this.
You saw that disappear, though, didn't you? I think you saw that disappear, though.
Yeah.
He apparently
shrunk into a.
Yeah, I think he said to Cole Palmer that he was going to save a penalty in the Euro final. So he has got. Everyone says he's got loads of confidence, but I think the longer we kept him in, I think Brighton did it right with Verbruggen, who of course we were linked with as well. But Verbruggen, who was the guy who we could have signed for $5 million the season before, when we got Muric, but then Brighton ended up paying 15-20 mil, similar to Trafford. They kind of alternated their keepers quite a bit in the Premier League, did Brighton. And he made some howlers. I think he conceded 6 in a game, but it was kind of, you give him a bit and then you take him out, you give him a bit. I'd have sent Trafford to the Championship. I think if you sent Trafford to the Championship, he'd have been in a top club in the Championship. He'd have been a top 6, top 8 club. He'd have grown. He'd have done exactly what he did at Bolton, but at a higher level. To go from League One, having been at Stanley and been at Bolton, to then expect him to be at Premier League level, having had a really good summer with the under-21s, so mentally not had much downtime in the summer, then you're saying, right, you're the number one. That is the difficult thing, and I think that is, the biggest error, man management wise, from Kompany. But as Ash said, I think the more I think about it, the more I think there was a clause in that contract, which is bullshit to a degree, that a club who you are selling a player to, he's your player. That other club should have no bet. If it's a loan, fair enough. We know that happens in loans. But you are selling him at a premium rate to help you with FFP, and then you're inserting a buyback clause so you get first dibs on him. And then you're telling us he has to play 75% of the games no matter what, or how bad it is, or how bad it is for him, as Andrew said. The more I think about it, Ash, I think you're absolutely spot on. I think there is definitely I just think it's absolute.
I just think it's absolute naivety by Kompany. Like, you could see how much his confidence was going away, and he has got a lot of confidence. He's a goalkeeper. They've all got confidence. and they're all absolutely nut jobs. But his confidence was shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. And I mean, the atmosphere that night when Murich's name were read out on the turf for the first time this season, like I were in the Park View, and the last time I've heard the Park View singing songs and chanting were when we beat Bastards 3-0. And everyone in Park View was shouting Murich's name. And I mean, that, like, if we'd have done that 6 games earlier, 10 games earlier, it just, like I say, it just feels like the season were wasted. And again, it's nothing against Trafford. I like him. I think he's going to be great. But as soon as you started to see it, it should have been, right, come on, mate. You've got to learn from the other goalkeepers. We did it with Pope when we signed him. We dropped Hart when we should have done. We've always been a team where your shirt, it's your shirt until you lose it. We did it with Beast. We did it with Clean. We did it with Diego Penny. We did it with Gabo Correa. Just because Kompany and Pep are in bed together, there should have been nothing put in that contract.
We did it 5 times in 1991, if I remember rightly. I'm not going to name them all, but Chris Pearce, Andy Maria, David Williams, and there's 2 others whose name I can't remember. He's gonna
John Spicer.
Oh, a bit earlier than Spice. Yeah.
It said it all for me though. Was with Trafford was the Luton game where it was a definite foul on him. Yeah. But if that had been Murich would just clear. Murich might have ended up giving a penalty because it just wiped out the striker like. But all season you just saw like it. His shot stopping was brilliant, but he didn't command anything in that net in that area, and that's down to lack of confidence in terms of not probably his ability like, but his leadership role. Because all goalkeepers should be able to. I mean, we were spoilt with how Heaton were at the back. But
Nicky
it was just, Oh, they're the other 2.
Yeah.
Kendall and Walker. Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, Ali's definitely happy Kompany's gone. He's Ali's very happy that Kompany's gone. I think he's made that known in the last 3 comments he's put in. I'll tell you what, Asher, sticking with you then.
With him.
Yeah, you can get rid of that shit house. Obviously, it's what's happened on the pitch is one of the big reasons why we've gone down. Another reason for me was losing probably Koleosho as well. I think obviously a massive miss. And again, like Greavesy said, you're hanging on the hopes and dreams of a young lad bailing you out the shit. And obviously after we lost him, okay, fair enough. We could say we've seen a resurgence from, Brun Larson coming in. But before that, Koleosho seemed to be the man making the difference for us in terms of trying to actually be successful in the way we played, weren't it?
Yeah, but what happened to Benson? I mean, Koleosho looked phenomenal. And I think, saving grace, he got that injury. And I don't think people will jump in and go in for him this season. So we should get a fantastic season. I mean, championship. But we relied so heavily on another youngster in Odebert. He was burnt out towards the end of the season. And, you had Benson who will probably be full of beans, bags of energy, wants to prove himself. And how many minutes do you reckon he actually played all season? I mean, he is an impact player. Don't get me wrong.
Koleosho?
No, Benson.
Manuel Benson. I'll find that out.
Yeah, because I think he would have made a difference, and I think getting him in and with Murich, I think they would have raised the crowd because he's a fan favourite for the obvious reason where we won the championship last year. But I do have to say that, I mean, Koleosho, I'd never heard of him before we signed him, and when you saw the name on the team sheet against City, who the hell's this guy? Because everyone were expecting Benson on there, and he wasn't. And he does look like he's going to be a real baller, but it was just a shame that he did pick up that injury.
He made 8 appearances, did Benson, 7 off the bench. I can't really find out time-wise, but made 47 passes, 9 crosses, a 50% shooting accuracy because he had 4 shots and 2 of them on target. So even in that short amount of time he's had, he's still, stats-wise, had an impact.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's. I mean, Francesca says it here as well. You know, we were told at the fan board meeting that we said, "Why is Benson not getting game time?" And Matt Williams clearly said, "Company doesn't think he's physical enough for the Premier League." And we're just like, "What? Like, is this the same company who's relied on Manuel Benson in the Championship season to get him out of the shit? You know, coming up with those vital goals coming off the bench."
Yeah.
He didn't need to be. He wasn't physical enough for the Championship, though. Like, how many
No,
times
this
did he
is what
get
I've said.
picked in the first 5
Neither's a
minutes?
player like Jack Grealish, though. This is what I
No,
mean,
he
and
comes.
I'm not comparing Grealish and
comes on
Benson,
with
but I'm saying that
tr-
in terms of coming on
No.
and actually making a like, just come on that last 10 minutes.
He didn't start at
You've
Ewood.
got that.
He
No,
didn't start at
that's what I
Ewood.
mean. But
He
you've got
came
that
off the
little bit of
bench, and
pace,
5
and you
minutes
come
later, put the ball in
forward.
the back of the net.
Yeah, you come forward with that little bit of pace, a bit of wing trickery, and if you get your legs swapped, whatever, he's going to win us fouls in dangerous positions,
Yeah.
physical or not. So it's a very, very tough argument when you can say, well, I need my wingers to be physical. Well, we need defence to be physical and not as thin as a fag paper.
I think I'd have got it if
He played 109 minutes.
109.
Hell.
Wow.
109 minutes according to transfer
So
mark.
it's practically had a game and had a time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, I'd have got
That's
it if
bleak.
we were playing Tressa or Audebert and Collier. Like, I'd have got it because they're not that physical. You know, you need at least, you know, someone who's not that physical to do that trickery. But Tressa weren't getting playing because he's the mystery man who I don't actually think exists. Obviously, the issue with Collier getting injured and then playing Audebert, but Audebert were knackered by 60th minute, 65th minute.
Yeah.
You know, that's the perfect time to switch it up, let him run at the defenders, let him knacker him out, and then when he's knackered him out, bring Benson on, and all he has to do, he doesn't need both legs, he just needs that left foot. How many goals did he score for us in the Championship? And apart from one, I think, maybe two, every single one was the exact same goal.
Yeah.
He doesn't need both legs.
Four
Just knacker them
consecutive
out.
games. 4 consecutive
Exactly.
games, he did the same thing
Yeah.
and got results.
The two biggest issues, though, really, the two biggest issues were you throw him on against Spurs, and he probably gets his most minutes against Spurs because he got about 15 minutes, 15, 18 minutes, and Kompany's not used him all season. He's in and out of the matchday squad. Same with Trezor. Trezor has like 8 weeks off where he's at the Trafford Centre on a Saturday because he's not in a matchday squad. And then you're given 6 minutes when you're already losing to go out and try and prove yourself. Like, mentally, what is that doing for players?
Yeah.
You know, and Benson then almost gets injured inside 10 seconds at Spurs. And you go, that's because he's not been playing. That's because he's not used to the rhythm and the pace.
Let's not forget as well, Greavesy, that in January, when or at the start of the season, when they were looking at, you know, we need to ship a winger out, whether it be Zaroury, whether it be Benson said, no, I'm not going anywhere. I want to stay and fight for my place.
Yeah.
And yet still wasn't given that same sort of level of respect that he gave to his manager and the willingness to fight for the team.
I think, like, we're going back to the Audebert situation, like, who, you know, after 60 minutes, after an hour of the game, we're blowing. But Lawson were the same. So we had, you know, 2 wingers either side. That because he replaced, at some point, he was replacing both of them, but never actually replaced him with the actual winger that could come off the bench and do something. You know, we're sticking Foster out there at one point. You know,
we've had an habit of doing that for a good few years, though. Like I said, we did it with Lafferty, Patterson, Rodriguez at once, pushing strikers out onto wings, and I don't. I don't understand why we've tried to do that when we've got a shit ton of wingers just stood queuing up.
Yeah.
It's mental.
Mm.
Obviously, we had a bit of a change in fortune towards the second half of the season. Looked like potentially, we're all on that optimism train. And obviously, Muric, we all called for him to be back in. A couple of clangers, but it's like I said to my mates at the start, Andrew, that it's technically the start of this season. If he'd have done that at the beginning of the Premier League campaign, we'd have forgot about it and moved on. But it was just one of them.
It was the situation we'd got into as well. I think if the Everton game hadn't been such a crucial game, it had been, oh well, it's one of them. It's unfortunate. It happens. It's going to happen if we play like that. He did it a few times last year. It's one of them. Same with the Brighton game. If it weren't such a big game, it'd have been, what the fuck are you doing, you idiot? But fair enough, you move on. Like it would have just been one of them, like you say, if it had been at the start of his season. I think it was the fact that we'd got ourselves in that much shit that every single game was a must not lose, and then it had got to the point of we need to win this to even have a chance. And again, the amount of saves that he made, how many games did he keep us in it? So, it sort of balanced itself out. It was just why did it take so long to play him?
Yeah. And Greavesy, you said earlier about the Didier Deschamps of Burnley, Josh Brownhill. Do you agree with the fan base that this season there's almost been, or maybe a decline, of his footballing ability, or do you think it's just the position in which he would play? Because at the start, it looked like he's been given a new lease of life, playing a number 10 role, a bit more freedom. And then it just seemed we couldn't wait to get him out of the squad as much as Kompany couldn't wait to get him back in.
Yeah, I mean, I do think he's one of them players who's too good for the Championship, but not quite good enough for above perhaps bottom six, which is fine, everyone always says, oh, he runs around a lot, but it's like dogs run around a lot. You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't mean that they're doing anything useful.
That's
and
brilliant.
I think part of the issue with Brownhill, and I kind of have a bit of a weird. I kind of blow hot and cold on Brown. I've been really critical because I don't think he's quite good enough now for what we need in the Premier League. But we thought that about Brown, about Cullen, and then suddenly kind of you get the building blocks around Cullen right, and he's a better player. So I think you've just got to be a bit smarter, and I still think that with Cork. I think if you're smarter with your players, you allow your players to develop their game. Players develop games, don't they? If you think about, players will move further back into midfield, or they'll go from, centre half to full back, when they get older, or you'll need to play three at the back. And I think that's the thing with Brownhill. I think he's one of those players who, if we keep him, and I wonder whether we've triggered his contract because we know we can probably sell him, which is a good move for him. If it goes to a Wolves or an Everton, who are the two clubs he's always linked with, then brilliant, fair play to him. And again, they might build a system around him differently to let him flourish. So then we look at, have we got the best out of him? So I think I'm really critical of him, but I do wonder whether, as the season went on, whether the blocks around him weren't in the right place for him to flourish. Because football management's a lot like that. Yeah, Ian Moore, as John says, ran around a lot. And we loved him for it, didn't we? I mean, he was fucking useless in front of goal. First £1 million player. But we loved him because he looked like a dog chasing a crisp packet in the wind. You know what I mean? That's what we always used to say. But yeah, there were just little bits, and and again, Ash touched on it, the kind of players being tired and him not bringing on the players who could create the chances. That was my other issue. I talked about the kind of players being out, then being thrown in for 20 minutes or less than that to go and prove themselves. it was a lack of urgency with the substitutions. Wolves was the one. Wolves away when you're like, we need some here, and he got the substitutes kind of ready, and then waited until we got into injury time, and then realised we weren't going to get as much injury time as he thought we were going to get, which is the only explanation I could. The way they were going mental at the fourth official when they put up 3 minutes rather than 6. They kind of went, oh shit, we needed him to be on for 6 minutes because we definitely get something then. And we've left it and we've left it and we've left it. And there's only 3 minutes of injury time. So it's not our fault. It's the referee and the fourth official's fault for not giving us the amount of injury time we thought we were going to get. And that kind of summed it up. United at Turf Moor were shocking. And we could have still been playing now and we wouldn't have scored because there was no urgency. Everton at home, perfect performance second half if you were 1 up rather than 1 down. Crystal Palace, all these games where you went, if you said to somebody, don't look at the scoreboard, tell us who's winning, you'd go, that is brilliant. Brilliant performance. Burnley must be winning. But we were behind in these games and there were no urgency. We were controlling the game and Dice just put 2, a 5 and a 4 in front of us. And we were just happy to kind of sideways this, sideways that, go backwards a bit. And you just kind of thought, Everton had just damaged limitation. They don't want to concede anymore. Then you look at the scoreboard and we're losing. And you think, Christ. And you look at the bench and you've Trezor and you've Benson and you just think, you can do something about this. You've got to start doing something about this. Please do something about this. And then 3 minutes of injury time go up and it's like, oh, we're going to fetch on, Connor Roberts to play midfield. And you just think... Game's gone, hasn't
it? Yeah. I mean,
I think for me, my just to follow on what Greavesy said there, like my point with the Liverpool game at the Turf, where they'd had 2 goals disallowed, they'd been celebrating VAR's disallowed the 2 goals, and all of a sudden, with half an hour to go, we had that energy and we had the urgency, and we were going for it, and then it's like, where's that the rest of the season? Why did it take for them to have 2 goals disallowed for us to have that energy anyway? But where was that when we were playing Everton? Where was that when, like Greavesy said, United was shocking? Where was it there? Where was it when we're playing Wolves? Where is it when we're playing Brighton? We had I think this is the thing that's so frustrating. We obviously have talent in the squad. We obviously have something there. They've got the energy. They've got the effort. What happened? It's not. He's not tactically naive because his subs worked in the Championship. So why is it not working in the Premier League? All right, it's a different league, but you still swap over. You still use your brain. Yeah,
no, it's true.
Agree with John.
John says there that we need to consider a manager that does have a plan B or plan C, not just the naivety of plan A and hope for the best. You could tell he's come from that Pep school of arseholeness, of just, wanting to basically, but he believes that much in his players that he thinks the quality will get them over the line more than having to tactically sort anything out. They'll just do it because they've got it. That said, we were saying about Brownhill and a bit of the decline this season. Basically, one beacon of light probably to come out of this campaign, Ashley, were Sander Berg, player of the season, massively deserved. Massively deserved, weren't it?
Yeah. Well, the funny thing was, though, I remember after the first 3-4 games, social media, there was one meme. This is company sending Sander Berg back to Sheffield United, car jumping over a bridge and stuff like that. It was like, give him time. Look how much he has flourished. He's one of those players. If we do lose him this summer, and I have a sneaky feeling we probably will do, is I will be gutted. But he's going to go for good money, so it's a win-win, but I'd rather keep him and let whoever's coming for him keep the money. But yeah, he's a fantastic player.
Yeah, massive
great signing that, but it's definitely signing it season as well. I'd say, and that's putting that in there with Collie Orshaw and order. But
yeah, 100%. Greavesy, your thoughts on Sander Berg? Obviously, he's had taste of Premier League with Sheffield United. he stuck by them when they went to the Championship as well. So, let's not say that he's still very open-minded to that. He's going to have had more years on him now as well. So, is he going to stay on the basis of, will people still be looking at him with his age and, in that factor sort of thing?
Yeah, he's a weird one because I think I think he will start the season with us, kind of whether he kind of sees out the transfer window, because I think the transfer window probably shuts after after we start the season. It usually does, so yeah, it will do. But I do think, yeah, he's one that, you were so surprised that Sheffield United let him go, to begin with, because you were a bit like, and it was one of those transfer rumours that wasn't really a rumor. It was just like, oh, he's set to sign tomorrow. And you went, whoa, Christ, that's a good signing. Because I was always a big fan. And like I said, them first couple of games, it kind of passed him by a little bit. And I mentioned he kind of liked to flick a foot out rather than a challenge, perhaps a little bit unfair. But it was one of them. He just needed that time. He needed to work out what system he was playing in. And I just think at times we didn't play to his strengths. We kind of brought Brownhill back in, and he was then in a more defensive role. He played fullback, he played centre half, and he's at his best when he's just, really kind of, striding forward with the ball. My only kind of negative is I just wish he'd shoot more. He gets to the edge of the area and recycles the ball. And it's just like he scores good goals. He's scored good goals. He scored good goals for us. Just, he is one of those players who's got the quality to beat a keeper from 18, 20 yards. And it's just this insistence that he wants to go back inside and reset. And again, is that what they're told to do? Because there's no, that lack of urgency. There's no, you think about Fofana, West Ham, you think about Audebert, Fulham, you think about these when players have just gone, you know what, to hell with it, play with emotion. There's a goal there. There's a keeper who I can beat. I'm just going to, thunder bastard it from edge of the area. That's what you want. And I think, I've said this before. I wonder whether we're so obsessed with numbers, because Kompany would always talk about performances, and the only way the performances stack up as being good performances is possession stats and number of passes completed and all this lot. And you've got to get rid of that and play with emotion. Luton didn't help them. They still got relegated, and it did get a bit tiresome. When they were getting beat, people go, "Oh, Luton are doing it the right way. Oh, Luton are doing it." Well, they're still getting beat. So they're not doing it any better. But they played on emotion, and it gave them that chance. It gave them that chance in games. And ultimately, they didn't have enough quality like us. That's the table doesn't lie. You don't have enough quality, you go down. But I think we played less on emotion, and it was perhaps Kompany trying to control or try to control the young players, as in, he's got these players, he knows an experience. So if you give him a kind of almost a HTML code or a kind of computer code of how you've got to play, and you control every single number that you can, that utter belief that will come good. Whereas actually football is all about emotion, isn't it? Let's be honest. Football is all about emotion, whether you're a player or you're a fan. And we interviewed Mickey Phelan at the start of the season, and we said, what's the difference between the Premier League and the Championship? And he said, making decisions and making the right decisions at the right time. And a manager can't help you make them decisions, because part of the problem is when it comes to making a decision, if all you've got is a binary code to go off, you're not going to be able to make that decision. And that is the issue. And I've thought about this all season. I thought about what Mickey told us when he said it's about making decisions. And George Boyd said something similar. Difference is you've got to be better in both boxes than everybody else. And it comes down to decision making. If you say to people, and I work in journalism education, and we did it when I came into my last job, we used to kind of squeeze out of mocks and scare the living bejeebus out of people before exams. My predecessor would go overboard on mocks, and we didn't get good results. And what I did is I relaxed it and kind of went, you've got to know that you can pass. And then we got really good results. We were top centre in the country for 10 years, and it's that emotion. You can't give somebody a binary code and expect them to get decisions right, because they're not computers.
No, how many times did we try to go defensive from like 60 minutes? We tried to hang on. Yeah. We tried to hang on way too early instead of, and it's comes back and bit us in the arse. I mean, you mentioned it there, Greasy, about Fofana. That well, questions open to you all. To be honest, starts the season well, bagging for fun, and then comes to the end of his loan move, and it seems like there's been a bit of a ruckus between player and manager, maybe. Because he's gone
I am
from
glad.
goal scoring to nothing.
I am glad I never, I'm saying this now, we'll end up fucking signing him, but I am glad I never have to see that useless, miserable, lazy bastard again. Because I can't remember who it were. We're at the Newcastle game where he ran off down the tunnel as soon as the final whistle went, and Cullen grabbed hold of him and bolt, like you could see him having a do at him. And you've missed 2 open nets. They weren't just sitters; they were open nets. Like,
Yeah.
I could have put them in. My little sister could have put them in. My dad could have put them in. My granddad could have put them in. He don't go out anymore. They were so easy. You've lost your place in the team because you can't shoot for toffee. All right, he scored those 2 goals against Fulham, where again I don't think anyone could have missed them. And then he scored that, like Groovesy said, thunder bastard against West Ham. But apart from that, I can't really remember him doing much. And I think we'd all got on there again. We'd got on the hype of this is something different. Oh, he's going to give us a chance. He had a cheesy transfer video. He came on against City for 5 minutes and he ran at him a little bit and he set up Alderkill for his goal. And he's got a winning smile and he's number 23. He's Nathan Teller again. And he was just another one of the shambles signings that we made this summer. He just, yeah. As you can probably tell, I'm not his biggest fan.
No, I mean, just the last 2 things to touch on, really. Obviously, the season's been an absolute dross, but losing players like Cork and Goodmanson, Greavesy, I know you've got to shoot in a minute. Give us your thoughts on losing 2 players that, well, have been will always be Clarets, basically.
Yeah, Cork, I'm not surprised that. I mean, he got literally no game time. I think he got less than Benson. And I think he might retire. I don't know. I think he's certainly got, he can certainly still play football, and he looked tidy when he came on, albeit in the last game of the season when, Forest were already winning and already safe. But Goodmanson's the surprise for me. I think, in the Championship, again, we're going to go into that Championship season. Taylor will leave and Jay will leave. I mean, there's contract extensions on the table. They're not they're just not going to sign them. I'd be very, very surprised if they sign them. Obviously, that might change if a new manager comes in and decides that, he wants them to stay and wants to offer them longer deals. But, they are pretty low ball offers. But yeah, I mean, in the Championship, you still need a backbone. You still need somebody who's got experience of getting out of the Championship. And Corky, I'm not surprised we've lost. I think, he is somebody who, has been treated pretty badly this season. I think been kind of sidelined and kind of etched out of history from this season. Goodmanson, massively surprised we didn't sign. We apparently had a clause to trigger and we weren't able to get that deal over the line. So it does feel slightly weird though that we've made them decisions now with the manager no longer in place. So we could be in that situation. We brought Bardsley back, didn't we, at one point, albeit the same manager brought Bardsley back. I think Dyche released him, then brought him back. I think it was Bardsley. But yeah, I think as Francesca suggests, I think Corky might head to MLS. I think Jay might head to MLS, get himself somewhere sunny. That'd be quite nice. Goodmanson, although actually I did see something about Jay joining Huddersfield, which is less sunny.
Yeah,
obviously, than Florida or Miami or wherever.
I thought it was a poor touch on Company, already relegated, not giving these players the starting. In fact, last game of the season at home, Jay should have started. Corky should have started. You know, Gunmunson. They should have. Nothing to play for. I mean, Chris Wood and turned up. He got a better send off than our lads.
Corky almost in his his post-match press conference interview said it was nice of the manager to give me a couple of minutes, and it was kind of a bit like, as you say, I fully expected Yuan to start. I know Yuan got half a game. Just start them all, for God's sake. You know what I mean? It's just you didn't,
it meant
sub
nothing,
Cork
did it?
off at half time if need be. Sub him off at half time. I think part of it is you don't
4 minutes.
Yeah, you don't want to be embarrassed.
4 minutes.
You don't want to be embarrassed by the fact that he comes into a side and plays well, and you've not used him all season. I think there is an element of that sometimes with managers. If Corky starts, he does well. Everyone goes, well, that were a fuck up because you could have played him. A bit like Andrew was saying, you bring Muric back in 6-10 games before we stay up. You bring Corky back in at some point. We get enough points to stay. Managers don't want to be made to look stupid.
It don't matter if you look stupid or not. He were fucking off to Bayern Munich.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's getting his later rolls impressed, isn't he?
Yeah, he could have sat at home doing anything, but yeah, I agree. It were a bit of a, especially like, but Munson's been here for how long? Look at what he's done with us. Corky's been here for how long, and how many times? It was like I know it's his second stint, but technically his third stint with us. Jay, again, second stint. He's a Burnley lad. He's grown up here.
Yeah.
His dad lives down the road. He's my favourite player of all time. Give him the start. Charlie Taylor, he's probably going to go. You've shit on him for the last 2 seasons, so he's probably going to leave. Give him the start, man. They've done enough.
Yeah, no, I agree. Greavesy, before you shoot, outlook for next season. How do you think we're gonna pan out? Obviously, we're in the lookout for a new manager, so it's pretty difficult to say. But how do you think? Do you think a season in the Championship wouldn't be a bad thing, and then go again for another year of it?
Yeah, I quite like the Championship. I think you've with this squad, you've got to be ideally you've got to be top 2, but you've certainly got to be top 6. Depends who the manager. You could bring anybody in, and with that squad, you should be able to get a tune out of them. So I'm really, I'm really hopeful. I enjoyed the Championship last time because we were brilliant. I enjoyed the Championship the time before because we were brilliant. You know what I mean? We are a very, very good Championship side. There's no doubt about it, and we've got some brilliant players. And if we can keep them, and they hang around, and we get to see the best of them, and we get to see them tearing up the Championship. And Championship's not a great division for all this kind of it's better than a lot of European leagues. It's not. It's got a lot of dross in it. The top 6, top 8, top 10 are brilliant, but you look at the bottom. The teams that survive them down the road, Sheffield Wednesday, Plymouth. Yeah. They're still going to be down there. They're still going to make up that bottom 8.
But the thing is, though, with this league as well, though, it's so unpredictable because, like you say, you could have Plymouth that literally stay up on the final day, a scrape of the teeth, and yet next season go on an absolute march. It's such an unpredictable league like that. But I know what you mean. Teams like Rotherham that seem to just be there.
Yeah. Coventry. Just to annoy Coventry fans, really, more than anything else. They're just there, aren't they? Coventry just there. They get to an FA Cup semi-final time before they almost got into. They're an almost team. There's loads of almost teams. West Brom, It
says there's 328 people watching through Twitter or X right now. 320 of them are probably Coventry fans.
Of course they are, because they're obsessed with us. That's what it is. Anyway, I'm going to go because a Race Across the World finale's on tonight. My missus will kill me if she finds out on social media who's won it before we've watched it. So.
Mate, you take it easy. But thanks again for coming on.
Always
before you go, shout out your podcast and congrats on the trip around Belgium as well.
Thank you very much.
Well done.
From the BO then. I mean, I presume all 321 people already tuned into that, but there we go. At BO Podcast on Twitter, /X, and all of those kind of things. And thank you very much for having me on.
Oh, anytime, mate. Anytime. Thanks again.
See you soon. Cheers, chaps.
See you soon. Take it easy. and then there were 3. I mean, let's talk about it then. It's happened. Let's go into depth about it. Sold as a plan, sold as a dream, headhunted by ALK, and fucks off at the first sign of trouble, Asher.
I do go back to what I originally said. I think he would have gone anywhere, because if we'd have been mid-table or top 10, someone would have come in for him. But to get relegated, one of the biggest teams in Europe or the world, come and get you. I can't get my head around it. But yeah, you mentioned it. It's a bit like an Owen Coyle moment, but not quite, because I think Coyle went to the other ones down the road and said they were 10 years ahead of us, and yeah, that panned out very well. But Munich are light years ahead of us, and you're not going to turn them down, are you? Really? But
no, yuck.
Yeah, I think what's really got up everyone on the high horse, it's just how it happened, and just there were no honesty, and he's always come across as said, oh, you've got to be honest, you got to be upfront and this all that, and he's not. He's just been arrogant about it, and I think the more we talk about it and everything, I think there has been that arrogance all along, because he just hasn't wanted to change anything up. It's just like, I'm Vincent Kompany, I'll do what Vincent Kompany wants to do, and yeah, I'm trying to be positive about it. It's for the best, this and all that, but it's also like, my new hot girlfriend's just left me.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with myself.
If you're pace, you've been cheated on. You've been cheated on from a great art. And I said it the other day that I feel as a chairman, you need to be a chairman. You've headhunted this guy. You've confessed your love for them, but you can't be on the same level. You can't be on the same level. And it was almost like there was too much of a level of respect that they had for each other, where one wasn't above the other. And don't get me wrong, that can stand in good stead, because you get on perfectly well with your chairman, everything, the stars align, everything's fine. But if you're going to promise some guy the world and then get shat on from a great heart, what sort of Alan Pace are we going to get now? Are we going to get a different one that goes, well, no, I've given this guy everything and anything he's come to me and asked for, and yet I'm still not enough for him. So, are we going to see a different Pace who's got more of a subtle approach than how he has been? And I don't know. I'll come to you with it, Andrew. What next and who next? Who do you want?
I said it before. Anyone but Frank. Like, I've got my heart set on Van Nistelrooy now, and I know it's not going to happen. I know it's not going to happen. We're going to end up with someone so stupid. Like, I'm so glad that Cooper's ruled himself out, because I don't want him. I think we were all, like John said there, he was blind in love with Vince, but we all were. Like, we'd been relegated, we lost all these players, and then I don't think it was just Kompany that made us fall in love with him, but like, we'd lost all these players, we brought in these young, really exciting players. The new kit was absolutely
We'd
beautiful.
never been known as a club to delve into foreign market, so we've got a load of foreign talent coming, and we were just like, it was just
everything
like that.
Just seemed to align. And then we played Huddersfield on that Friday night, and oh my God, it was beautiful football that we haven't seen for 10 years, because we had Long Dycheball, who I know he did play some good football. But, it was completely different, and we all fell in love with Kompany. And as this season has gone, when we had the trophy parade, and he stood there on the balcony and he's swinging the scarf around, and oh my God, we all fell in love with him, because this was Vincent Kompany, the City captain, who'd won all these league titles, was Burnley's manager. Like, it was mind-blowing and outstanding. And then as this season's gone on, yeah, fair enough, it's got a bit shit. And some people wanted him out in December. Some people wanted him out in January. A lot of people
But there were
wanted
never
him
any Company out chance in the stands. That's the
There
thing as
weren't.
well. People in their heads or in the pubs, whatever, would say, if he went now, you know, again,
I won't be upset.
a lot of people were saying sort of I'd change it, but then also didn't have an answer to who they would change it for, because
No.
there wasn't anybody out there for them to basically go, well, yeah,
Now-
that sounds like a
But
the
now,
managerial
who do we
merry-go-round
change
in the
for?
last 2 to 3 months has been absolute manic. I mean, actually, who would your choice be? Who would you go for?
Well, this has been on my mind, I think, from last Friday when it all announced. I don't know enough about Mr. Roy's career in terms of managerial wise to whether he would be a great fit. I know he won. He didn't win the league, did he, in Holland? But he won the cup, and he gone to
Yeah.
Champions League. So there is obviously talent there. Scott Parker, he has credentials. He's done two. He's done 2 promotions, hasn't he? But it doesn't it don't excite me like, you know, the buzz I got about Company. But I don't know. I'm a bit Steve Cooper. Like, if it came in, I think we're gonna back whoever comes in, it regardless. Like, but I don't know. I have a sneaky feeling
Question
it'll
for
be
you
someone
both.
out of the blue.
Go on.
Yeah, just a question for you both. Just following on that, Ashley, you said about how he doesn't get you excited like Company did. Have any of the names got you excited the way that Company did when he was linked? And if not, do you think it's because of how crap this season's been, or do you think it's because of how much we've been shafted and stabbed in the back?
A bit of both.
Yeah,
Right,
A bit of both. I think if you look at the fact that we went for a manager that, again, hadn't really proved himself at Anderlecht, not really tore it up or anything, but I don't know whether it was a case of ALK thought, yes, his outlook on management is perfect, may not get it right tactically, might, again, be naive. However, do we, where do we go from here in terms of how we want a name? That's basically what I'm trying to say is ALK want a name. They don't care. I think at the time it wasn't a case of your background, whatever. If you've got a name and people have gone, what? Vincent Kompany and Burnley together, how's this going to work? And it was a move that got the world talking, the world of football talking.
Mm.
And I think that's why we probably would go down that route of, I mean, the last few days I've seen the likes of, as you said, Ruud van Nistelrooy's now been mentioned. I've seen it in 2 places. I've not seen much of it, but Thierry Henry. And I'm just like, if we are going for former players, at least let these former players have a bit of a background in them. Okay, Henry's had a bit of background. Again, Belgium, assistant to Martinez, weren't he? Roberto Martinez at Belgium.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think he had a sniff at management at Monaco, I believe. Henry as well.
Yeah, he did.
So, I don't know. There's a few people. I thought Patrick Vieira did a decent job at Crystal Palace. His second season potentially got found out. But I think John says it there, and I think people will put 2 and 2 together with the fact that Mark Jackson has stayed at the club. That Mark Jackson and from his Preston days and David Moyes could work. I mean, any of you guys be opposed to someone like David Moyes coming in?
I'd take him tomorrow. Moyes.
I won't be against him.
I want him just for his jacket because all his Burnley stuff will have DM on it. So I'm like, yeah, I'm in. I'm all in. I'm having that at end of season, mate. Get it all here.
Yeah,
but
No, I won't be against him. He's not.
Tough.
He's not my first choice, but I've got nothing against him. I do quite like him as a manager. Again, like John says, he's not the glamour choice, but I like him. I just want a manager. I don't want it to drag out.
I think my concern is if like Thierry Henry, absolute phenomenal player. Well, I'm apprehensive. Excited and apprehensive about it is like all these players are Kompanys players, and there's a good bunch of talent there. You need someone who comes in who can manage talent, get the best out of them. There's areas that we need to improve on, and we're not going to keep all these players because some of these are going to get sold off. So, someone experienced for me would probably be someone like Moyes. This is why I say I'd take him tomorrow, Moyes, because he's experienced and he's got experience with getting the best out of players. Steve Cooper didn't get me excited, but it wouldn't have been a bad shout though.
No.
Yeah.
If the rumours are true that he has turned us down because he's spoken to Brighton or whatever, then fair enough. Fair enough. But it's a strange time. We all know what the managerial merry-go-round's like. I just wanted to ask one final question that John put in earlier. So I started it. He says, if we've got the following fees, so obviously we've got money from VK's management contract, 15 to 20 million for a stave, Odobert 20, Trafford 15 to 20. Would you take it? And then obviously you cut out the likes of Samuel Bastian, Cherlinov, etc. And I think he added a comment not long after, which I forgot to start, but he said that's pretty much around 70 odd million there to rejuvenate into the squad. I mean, would you be happy with that? I mean, I know you're losing a lot of talent, but if we invest that 70 plus million back in, would you be happy?
Yeah.
As long as we keep
lose those players.
As long as we keep Twine, do you think? Again, that's another question though. The players out on loan this season. Most of the players we've sent out on loan. I don't think any club that has had, like I think Cherlinov at Schalke aren't, they aren't taking the option up to sign him. If Ruud van Nistelrooy comes in, will we see the emergence of Wout?
No.
That Dutch.
Don't even say it. He's going off to Chelsea with Fafana. I'm not being funny, but if I get to the Park View on the first game of the season, and up front we have Wout Weghorst and David Fafana, I'm sticking my season ticket on eBay. With Frank Lampard as our manager.
Oh God!
Oh no!
Don't do that to us. Do you know what? I'd bring Stan back, mate. I'd bring Stan back for a swan song. Could you imagine Stan Turner trying to deal with the modern day footballer? Now that's a documentary in itself.
He'd be upset.
He'd have 23. Trust me, the documentary would be based on it'd be a bit like in school. When all parents come in because he's been bullying, but yeah, it's him that's been doing the bullying. Load of 23-year-olds crying. It'd be absolute madness. But yeah, like John says it there, 70 million, but enables us to keep Muric, Bayer, Brownhill, Zarori, Koleosha, Benson and Berg.
Yeah.
I'd let Amdouni and Tressa go, though. I'd stick them two on that list to go.
Yeah, John said same. Unless he's saying we keep hold of them, but not sure. Evening, Phil.
I think there's something special about Amdouni. I do think the Championship.
There's a player there.
Yeah.
There's a player there, but whether it comes to that,
Tressa, we'll have to wait and see, won't we, with Tressa? But
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. No, I mean, that's pretty much our season. I mean, Andrew, I'll come to you first. If you had one positive to take out of last season, what would it be?
It's finished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I enjoyed the Sheffield United 5-0 win. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed
Yeah.
battering Sheffield United 5-0. And I don't know if you were on it with me when we did the stream with the Palace lads, and I upset the Sheffield United fan because I said I can't see where we're going to get another point this season, but we'll still finish above you. And he was absolutely fuming. He was raging because he was like, "You can't see where you're going to get another point this season, but you're still going to finish above us." And I said, "Because if we can beat you 5-0, you must be crap." And I got it right. So, yeah,
You
that's
did.
my positive.
You did. Ashley, you're positive to come out of this season.
We didn't finish rock bottom.
Whee!
Near enough. But yeah, we weren't
True.
quite there.
True. I mean, my positive would be that I booked the day off work for the final day of the season as the ever optimistic Burnley fan who thought we will take it to the final day. And instead, I didn't even watch the game. I went to St Anne's, got sunburnt. And yeah, I'm still peeling. I'm still peeling. So yeah, I had a good day out, all in all.
And
A couple of beers on the
booked the
beach.
You booked the day
Yeah.
off. I booked the day after off, thinking, "Hang on a minute, this is going to be a night out and a couple of beers." And I was straight home and in my pajamas, ready for bed at 8:30.
Hey, why not? Nate says he's a Leicester fan, by the way. So please do keep our space in the Premier League warm for a season at least. At least you won't start next season with a points deduction. That's true. That is true.
Neither Man City.
Yeah. I can't believe. Did you see the odds on City for relegation? So like 25 to 1 to get relegated.
Yeah.
Because I think it's November of this year that they're going to have potentially come to a decision on the 115 charges. So maybe that's another reason why Pep's like, yeah, boys, I'm off.
Yeah, but aren't Chelsea like only like 50 to 1 or something as well? Like Chelsea are quite low odds
Yeah.
or something as well. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, John says it here, Andrew. We need some graphics making. Mission to Burnley 2, mission to Bayern, and mission to Kettledrum. So we've got Stan Company
That's
and
my weekend sorted.
Andrew, tell people where they can find you and your stuff. And again, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it and helping us get through what's been a bit of a dross season, really.
No, thank you for having us on, Dan. It's been enjoyable to talk over the last 12 months. But yeah, always
Therapy
Claret,
session, mate. It's a
Twitter,
therapy session, not a
Facebook.
season review.
Therapy. Used to have to pay 50 quid for this. Yeah, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, always Claret. Usually walking around turf with my name on the back of my shirt as well. So if you see me, say hello. But yeah, basically doing graphic design. I'm trying to put myself out there a little bit more now to add to my portfolio. So if anyone wants anything making, drop me a message on Twitter. I'll get it done for you as soon as I can. John, yours will be the next ones for me to do.
There you go, John. You heard it here first. And Ashe, again, legend as always. Looking forward to already having a beer together at some point.
Yeah,
Euros around the corner. Can't wait for that. He says through bated breath. But yeah, obviously tell people what if they want to get you on, chat to a Burnley fan and whatever. How can
just
people
hit
get
me
hold
up
of
on
you?
Twitter.
Thanks again.
Yeah, just hit me up on Twitter. AMA Claret. So yeah, always up for a chit chat about Burnley Football Club.
Why not? Why not? Hopefully some positive news as of next season. We'll be doing some positive stuff, but
Yeah, well, we've got to be optimistic, haven't we? We've got to be. I mean, especially with the investment we have had in the squad. You know, you've got to be a bad manager really if you can't do something in the Championship with the players we've currently got.
No, that's true. That's true. But no, I really do appreciate the pair of you coming on, and Greavesy earlier as well. Thank you all thank everybody in the chat as well. Everybody who's been watching, who's not put a comment in, still obviously you're massively appreciated for watching, giving up your time, listening to us just vent, shall we say. So yeah, thank you very much to everyone. If you are listening to us on podcast platforms as well, thank you very much for sticking with us. If you've got to this long, but it has been, and it probably will be for you, one of those where, do I really want to go through it all again and listen to the negatives? But it's good to get it out in the open. And what a day to do it. Kompany leaves to Munich. Don't know how that move's come about. He must have one fan agent who's had to do a lot of dirty deeds to get to where he's got to. But yeah, we're here, back on the manager hunt, back in the Championship. No VAR. Let's go again. I think the football club said together we are one. So let's all piss in the same pot and aim for the riches of the Premier League again. Although I do prefer the Championship. If it were like the MLS, where you could just stay there, so much better. But until next time,
double over bastards.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. As long as we can keep that. Keep that against bastards and we'll be all right. I'll take it. But again, thank you very much for watching, listening, and being involved. You're all legends. And we'll be back with some more stuff very soon. And yeah, enjoy the off season, enjoy your summer. Take care, and thanks for watching.
Oh, well.